Two and one. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast, also streaming on expert CRE secrets, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options, not having a clear plan is the enemy, using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust, or a 1031 exchange, or a way to really create and preserve more wealth in a tax-efficient way. We believe it's one of the best ways to exit highly appreciated assets and build wealth. I am also streaming on expert CRE secrets podcast as well. And for those who don't know me, my name is Brett Swarts. I'm founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. I'm a multifamily investor and broker. And each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas and deal stories so together we make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited about our next guest. In fact, he's a repeat guest. He was on the show about a year ago. And he is the founder and chairman of Smart Real Estate Coach. He's a four-time best-selling author of Real Estate on Your Terms, the New Rules of Real Estate Investing, and Sell with Authority for Real Estate Investors. He's also the founder of the Wicked Smart Companies, and I do say that with a little bit of an accent here. Some family out in Massachusetts. He's in Rhode Island, and he's the host of the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast, and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Chris Prefontaine. Chris, how you doing?
I'm awesome, Brett. Good to see you again, especially as we wrap up yet another year.
How was your 2023? And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give them a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, so I'll do the 31 years in just a minute here, but I've gone through building in the 90s to owning a brokerage to selling that off to Coldwell Banker to operating kind of pre-crash, I'll call it, with my own businesses, my own properties, and then coaching people all across North America. After the crash, it landed me in a tough spot financially. That's an understatement. And we re-engineered the whole business to be what it is today. We don't touch banks. We don't take out bank loans. We buy everything with creative real estate, or as we call it, on terms. So that's what we do. When I say we, family company, son and son-in-law, I think you've met one or both of them on your show. And then we have students all over North America who we do deals with. And that's the difference in what we got going on. So I'm sure we'll dive into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, we'll be touching on that and so much more, including should investors be buying real estate in 2023? For those who want to get in touch with Chris right now, you can go to smartrealestatecoach.com. That's smartrealestatecoach.com. You know, Chris, since we've already had you on the show before and we really dove into your story, I think I want to just dive straight into the topic at hand, right? So what's the number one secret you believe about buying real estate right now? Should investors be buying it? What are you seeing? What's your feeling after 31 years of being and seeing multiple market cycles? Should real estate investors be buying real estate right now?
Yeah, it's never been a better time, frankly. I was saying to you off air, 31 years, right? I'm going on my 32nd year. There's never been a better time. I say that for a few reasons with no particular priority order. The top of mind would be things like we have, for the third only in 50 years, we have an affordability problem right now. And that's with interest rates, not quite, they might be, I haven't checked in the last week or so, at our 50-year average of like 7.7 or 7.75. So if there's already an affordability issue, what's going to happen if and when rates creep a little higher? And sadly, you've got hundreds of thousands, I don't know the number, of buyers that have been pushed to the sidewalk that, Brett, you and I know, like a year ago, 9 months ago, they were ready to buy. They thought, oh, these are cool rates. And all of a sudden, boom, they're out of the market if they were on the cusp, qualification-wise. So there's just this massive amount of buyers that all of a sudden can't get a home. Therefore, demand's starting to come down with all the sellers. And that just screams loudly to creative financing. And think about this. You've got rates out there. We're buying homes right now with rates of like 2.75 to 4%. We're buying them by simply one of our methods, which is subject to existing financing. So how about if you just go out and accumulate properties over the next year or two, 24 months run, and you're getting interest rates well below market? You can't get a better situation than that. And sellers that were 9 months ago wanted nothing to do with it, 6 months ago wanted nothing to do with this because they could sell like hotcakes. They're calling now, like they're coming out of the woodwork now. And some people are in trouble. So I could go on and on, but that one piece is driving creative real estate through the roof.
So make sure I capture that, right? So for the third time in 50 years, affordability problem issue, along with a massive amount of buyers that have now been, sidelined.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is, with creative financing, you obviously know what you're doing, know how to do it. Sellers are finally now more likely to do that now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like it was, all the way until just when COVID made the market go crazy, right? Because even at the beginning of COVID, sellers were more prone to. They just got a little happy when the market went crazy. And so we're back to that point where we have to talk to a lot less people. That's all it is. It's not creative real estate operates great always. It's just that we have to talk to a lot less people now, and people need us a lot more than ever. They need a guide right now.
Got it. Okay. So, so step one is understanding the opportunity, right? Understand there's a lot of less buyers that are competing for deals because they're just kind of out of the market. What would be kind of step two to understanding that now is a great opportunity to buy in 2023?
You know what? I talked with this on a show yesterday. This is so important, Brad. I don't know if we hit this last time, but especially now where you have the potential to operate your business as an entrepreneur. I don't care if you have a W-2 now, we'll show you how to escape that, but you have a chance in the next 24 months to parlay some serious, like a decade worth of wealth. If that's the case, if I'm saying that, would it not behoove you to make sure you find a niche that suits you? In my case, creative real estate. I am not so naive to think it's for everyone, but find a niche that suits you, and then find someone that you alluded to earlier that's been through different market cycles. I've been through several. And so again, if that fits for you, phenomenally. But if not, there's other people that have been through other cycles. The scary part is people see the opportunity here, they hear about it, and then they say, great. And then they stumble upon a product that doesn't offer them anything because people can market. Or they stumble on something that's just new to real estate in the last 5 years. That's a scary formula. So just make sure that as a step two, that you find someone to latch onto, put the blinders on for a few years, and make a nice run here out of this market. These are the stories you hear about. In like 4 years, they're like, oh yeah, they amassed this fortune. Yes, because they took action when the media was screaming the opposite. That makes sense.
Right, absolutely. I think Warren Buffett says it well, right? Be greedy when everyone's fearful, and be fearful when everyone's greedy. And
Yep.
It seems like there's a lot of fear right now, a lot of stagnant decision makers, right? Understandably so, because things are a bit, uncertain, and interest rates have gone up quite a bit. But that's the time to be more creative, right? Not be fearful. Be more creative, take the energy, and have a coach, have a guide to help you be more creative, which is really what you guys specialize in. And so I think let's kind of dive into that. Like, what kind of deals are you making right now with yourself and your students, right, and your partners? Maybe talk about a creative one that you just did recently.
Yeah, sure. So we're still doing, and then I'll hone in on this market. We're still doing three things: lease purchase, owner financing, and subject to existing financing. The two I love right now. One I alluded to, subject to existing financing, because we can get these houses with underlying mortgages of 2%, 3%, 4%. Even 5 is good now because the rates are above that. And that's more, Brett, let me just differentiate this. That's more for people that they're subject to sales, are usually more prone to have sellers in them that need financial relief tomorrow. They're under some kind of pressure, or they have a second home, or they had a death or a divorce. Like, that has to be fixed. So they'll gladly do a sub 2 where the loan stays in their name, even though we buy the house. Opposite end of the spectrum are the free and clear sellers. They have no mortgage. They are not under any stress whatsoever. They would have taken money out of their property, presumably. So I love dealing with them because they're smart enough to say, all right, the market may take a dip, or already has slid in many major markets. So how about if I lock in my price here with these investors and do so over time? Because if they'll do so over time, the price is not an issue. And with these free and clear owners, we're doing principal only payments. Think about that as a recession hedge. So those are the two favorites right now. Sub 2, people that need you as a guide big time, and there is a plethora of them. And then free and clear owners. And you get two different types of advertising, two different types of sellers, and they're both very lucrative. Okay.
And the subject 2, let's talk about that one, right? So this is someone who's under stress, has a very attractive loan, but perhaps a high loan, or perhaps as in some other financial stress. And what you're saying is, look, we will buy the property. I don't know if you're not even saying assume the loan. You're saying basically wrap the loan. We're going to pay you, and you make the payment to the bank, right?
It's even easier. So Let's say it's your house. You've got I'll give you a number, a recent deal. You've got a $278,000 mortgage. You were on the market. It didn't sell. This particular couple, not you, this particular couple was divorced, and they went different directions, and they just said, we're done. And they already skipped one payment. So here's a $278,000 loan. The house is worth all day long, 3.25. It just didn't sell in the open market. And the interest rate on that was like 3.8 or very close to that. So we don't assume it. To your point, that would mean we apply and sign personally. We don't ever do that.
Yeah.
What we do is we make the payment directly to the bank after we take the property in our name, directly to the bank. We never send it to a seller and trust that they're going to send it in because we own the property now. And that's putting us and our potential buyer that we put in the home in jeopardy.
Got it. So there's a thing called, due on sale clause and, or, they accelerate, but walk me through that. Are you concerned that the bank's going to say, nope, the property's been sold, loan is due, we're foreclosing? Walk us through how you mitigate that risk.
Yeah. And big disclosure, obviously you're in the accounting world. I'm not an attorney. I'll just say how we do it. And in my 31 years, I haven't had one accelerated. And I'll get in the weeds a little bit, but let me just say 10,000 foot view. You use an attorney that does subject to deals, like there's tens of thousands done a month. You use an attorney who does them and knows how to do them in your market, they'll tell you exactly how to do it right. Okay. So having that as a backdrop, when you pay the bill, my experience has been when you pay the monthly bill, there's no problem with the bank. It's when you have investors, and they've done it historically, who buy these properties and then they don't pay the bill and they leave the seller out to dry, and it gives everything a bad name. Is there a due on sale on most loans? Yes. That is as my senior attorney has explained it to me for his firm, that is a contractual agreement between the bank and the seller. It's not a legality issue. It's a contractual issue between them. So we have the seller sign off that they understand that and that it's going to stay in their name. We then have them sit with our attorney to make sure they do a formal closing. This is not sign your house over to me like some people teach. It's a formal closing with a settlement statement. For those of you listening that don't really kind of not been around that, picture this. If you've ever bought a home, you had a settlement statement, and on that settlement statement was your brand new bank loan, ABC Bank, that you went and applied to and you got a loan. That money came to the table and helped you buy it. In the sub 2, it just says subject to existing loan with and the amount that's due. That's it. And then we make the payments directly to the bank after that. So that's been our experience, Brett. Even with banks that have the insurance department right in the bank, like they're literally sitting right there. We changed the insurance over, no issues at all. It's been 15, 20 years doing those.
It makes sense as long as the bank's getting their money,
they don't want it.
Yeah. Now, do you feel like there's any pressure between 6.5% interest rates and let's say 2.5%, 3%, where they maybe now because it was such a big jump so quickly, they're like, maybe we want to force this, right? Maybe we want to force this thing because if we can get it back to the open market where values, are still actually pretty relatively good, and we can get a new buyer in there with a new interest rate. But I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, some people have asked that just because there's such a gap. Couple things. One is since the Guyman-St. Germain Act was put out, I don't know what it was, 1980 something, where people could transfer their property in families and avoid the due on sale. For that reason, we put it in a land trust with the street address and the last name of the seller in the title. Now, I'm not saying that's a fail-safe, and again, I'm not an attorney. It's what we've been advised to do so that that's one way to title it so it doesn't trigger. The second thing is, you can do these in a land contract or a contract for deed, depending on what state you're in. They perform the same. Let me give you a quick example. These are better with real live examples. So in Pennsylvania, we had a student, and his attorney said, small town, his attorney said, hey, look, Don, I'm hearing that there's some banks that might be trying to accelerate some loans. So I'd rather you not take title. I'd rather you put it in a land contract. That deed, instead of getting recorded now and alarming the bank, sits in the attorney's drawer in escrow, essentially, until the obligation's met. So that's another safe way. There's all kinds of ways to do it. So that's why I said, go to an attorney who has done them over and over and over and over again. And that can be a pain in the butt, Brett. I have a student in Jersey. I went through 3 attorneys trying to explain what we do. And it's not that I'm new to this, right? It's been 31 years. And I just explained it simply and they go, no, can't do it. So then I called my attorney here who got us a referral, who said, what do you mean? I do thousands of these. You just have to get the right attorney. The special. It's like asking a divorce attorney to go drop an owner financing contract. They're going to go, no, you can't do that here. Well, I don't know how to do that here. Right? Same thing.
Yeah, it's a different thing. I don't know how to do it versus you can't do that, right? And oftentimes it's having an open mind. By the way, if you want to learn more about Chris Prefontaine and how to do these type of deals, he actually coaches across the country, all over. SmartRealEstateCoach.com. That's SmartRealEstateCoach.com. So with the Deferred Sales Trust, it's a very specialized installment sale, right? Where people don't understand how a trust can partner with an installment sale and how this all actually works together. And so it's literally the same conversations over and over and over again. The attorney calls and says, oh, I don't think that can be done, or that can't be done, or there's no way that, we had a CPA the other day, they were like, how is this qualified for a 1031? We're like, it's not a 1031 exchange. You're right. It's a completely different part of the tax code. It's 453. And they're like, oh, like, yeah. So, I mean, it's just that you have to really just help people get it. But what I hear you saying, Chris, is sometimes it just means just keep going to the next attorney until you find someone who's done it. Hire the who, don't be the how, and don't pay for that attorney's education. Because at the end of the day, these deals are happening right now, right? So how do you know when to just, cut it and say, you got the wrong who, right? You got the wrong attorney. Let's move on to the next one, Chris.
I just ask them how many deals they've done in this specific niche. And if they haven't, there's no hard feelings. You say, no problem at all. I don't want to burn you. I don't want to take your time up. And we move on. Now, with the hindsight of these attorneys now and these lessons we've learned, we have attorneys like the one I just mentioned that we secured for Jersey does 32 states. So a lot of our students just pick up the phone and call them, especially our higher level students. They have access to it. That's huge. It took us years to get there.
That's amazing to have that access, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, we don't need more money. We need more people. And the people have all the money and the people have all the knowledge. And if you can get that expert, and I always take it to the healthcare. I think it's simpler for people. If you had a general practitioner and that general practitioner did your blood work for the last 15 years and your flu shot and, all the stuff, right? All the general stuff. But if you need ACL surgery on your knee, he's not going to be the guy to do the surgery, right? And maybe he doesn't understand how this particular surgeon is going to do that particular way I had 2 ACL surgeries done, both knees, and each one was a little bit different and they had evolved in their process. And had I gone to my general practitioner and said, hey, general practitioner, he's thinking about this. So sometimes I think it's the client's fault because they're expecting it from their general practitioner CPA. Nothing wrong with that. They do they do tax returns and they do, and they're smart with their niche area where they've done tens of thousands of tax returns. But if they've never done this other one, you can't expect them to say, oh yeah, go for it. I've never seen it done. I've never done it, but you want me. So sometimes it's the client realizing, I was sitting down with the client yesterday and he's thinking about selling about $6 million of apartment buildings and looking at the deferred sales trust. And for him, I said, look, the agents who helped you get from 0 to $1 million or 1 to 5 million are typically not the same to get you from 5 to 10, 10 to 20, or 20 to 50. Agreed. Right? Your team and what you're trying to do with your legacy is probably to get there, you're going to have to bring those people in. So speak to that mindset, Chris, of I guess it's abundance, but it's also sometimes, you've got to move to the next part of the dream team and not have the old team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I was tracking with you 100%. I think what came to mind when you were saying that is sort of that confirmation bias. If we're not around the right people, then what happens is we start to get caught with the confirmation bias and looking for excuses to get up, to move on, or looking for ways that doesn't work. And frankly, a lot of attorneys do that. But the opposite is get around people like yourself and ask questions, and then your eyes will open. You don't need to be hanging out with all the general practitioners. You need to go seek out people with the bigger minds like you're talking about. You in your space, us in our space. It's exactly the same what you're describing, which is unbelievable. Yeah, it's the mindset piece.
Yeah. And on that too, I've heard it's telling a better story, right? So it's not just saying, hey, we've done thousands of these, all the IRS track record's perfect, never single loss, lifetime audit defense. Like you can tell them all the logic, but it's not until you tell a better story, because in their mind or their CPA's mind, they've got a story about why such and such was approached so many years ago and why it didn't work out, right? And all of a sudden that story gets ingrained in let's say the client's mind. So I feel like most of the time, I'm just trying to tell a better story, right? A better story about, who's looked at it, what their process was of looking at it, how they've joined us, right? And that, trying to bring in that. And so what is your process to help people, I guess, overcome false beliefs, Chris?
At this point, I can say, unlike, 10 to 15 years ago, it's just giving them access, sort of what I just said about your situation, giving them access to people in the community. Because there are people, our theme is helping people escape their W-2. There are just loads and loads of students who have escaped big, 6 and 7 figure jobs to come over. And then I have a phone call the very next day saying, I'm not sure this will work for me. What if it doesn't work? What if I go 90 days out? I go, just go talk to 2 or 3 people. Their stories are just like yours. You're no different. It's just that confirmation bias tying you down right now.
Perfect. So I love that. So let's talk about that, because I think this could help a lot of people. And you've done an amazing job. And by the way, if you just go to smartrealestatecoach.com, you're going to see how they've built a community and a culture. And And in the beginning, I said wicked smart, right? And I use that little accent because I have a little bit of family out there when I go out there. I spent a summer out there actually in Brimfield, Massachusetts, right on this amazing pond. They had a rope swing, and we went to the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts, and then we went to the Cape and all this kind of really cool stuff, right? As a California kid, not knowing much about the East Coast, it was like a really an amazing experience. And you try to pick up on some of the lingo, if you will, out there.
But you guys brush up.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And I loved it. Right. So you guys have built a community at what you do, right? And who you are. So what would you say how you've built that community? What's been the single best way to help people feel free to share that access? Like talk about how you cultivate that.
You know what? This is going to sound watered down, but the answer is real simple. With all the crap out there, frankly, that gets marketed to about real estate in your field too, there's people out there that don't do what you and I do. So the answer is we care. And once they're in the community, they get it. So they're on our Slack community with 140 other students, and they see how hands-on we are. It's not buy this product, good luck. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that out there. I literally yesterday, Brett, a guy said to me, yeah, I get it. Like I'm seeing you guys. I see you're family oriented. I see you care. But how do I know that when there's hundreds of you out there on the social media and the internet? So once they're in the community, and we give them every chance we can do for free for that. We're going to give your tribe a free book, for example. I want them to be able to experience it for free and then make their own decision. But it's that we care. It really is. We're in the trenches doing deals with them. And this is not about selling stuff. It's about how many transactions can we create? How many families can we help? That's
amazing. I love that. And I see and I feel that, right? Which these, I think culture and community, you feel it more than you see it. I mean, you have to see it and experience it, but you experience it, right? So that's cool. So you do a Slack community and you say, hey, come hang out with our people. There's 140 of them on there interacting, doing the thing, right? Yep. A, B, here's our free book, read a book, here our values, our vision, our history, all this stuff, right? Yep. And 3, we actually really do care. We're doing the deals with you. This is the part. We're not just saying, go do it. We're doing it with you. Is that a fair summary, Chris?
Yeah, it is, because there's just too many nuances that come up. We just did what we call a deal structure Sunday video with 2 students, a coach and a student. But what we said in there was when you get to a higher level, like you've done a few deals, you're not hitting the fundamentals, but you are still calling your coach going, I get this curveball, and these pivots and these curveballs can really make the deal ridiculously lucrative or crush it. And it's just one phone call, one nugget.
That's great. Right. So you have that advanced and I'd imagine that advanced training or that advanced support for people in their different levels and different stages. Yeah. By the way, the Slack community, I'm curious on that too, right? Because, people's finances, people's different things, I guess it's an invite. It's optional. Hey, we have this optional Slack community. We're going to be, we answer frequently asked questions. Like how do you keep people engaged in the Slack community? What are the things that you do to cultivate people interacting with one another? Oh, well, on there's a few cool things. There's a member channel where they can all talk. And if we're running a contest like we are now, and they take a picture in front of the house, there's a lot of buzz around that and the activity and the success. Then there's a scripts and dialogue channel. So you're brand new, you get in there, you can hear hundreds of calls, live calls. Like I'm calling a seller and you're going to hear that call that I did this morning. And then there's a lessons learned, because we don't try to hide that stuff. Like it's in the front of my book, even what can go wrong and how do we handle it? How do we pivot? There's a whole channel for that. So that when you're in the field, you don't go, oh, they didn't tell me that at that fluffy seminar. Everything's there for you. Guys, so it's the good, the bad, the ugly or the challenging, maybe the better way to put it. And it's the lessons learned. And essentially it's like sharing the journey, and it's inviting everyone, hey, share your journey, share your challenges, and let people who've been there, because at the end of the day, like people want to be able to give back too. Once they experience some of this freedom, that's right. Because really that's what they're chasing. Then they love the opportunity to help other people share that freedom. And so, anything else to add to that, Chris? Because I think this is so fascinating. And I don't think enough coaches and communities and real estate, a lot of times it's just the bottom line. What's the numbers you're going to make, but it's not everything else that is so important to sustain and keep this thing going, right? Well, we just had our first live event since COVID last September. And it wasn't huge. It was like 140-ish, 150. But in the private VIP day, 3, not one coincidental, 3 people, different times, come up to me with tears in their eyes and said, you know what I'm going to do? You guys have changed my life. I'm going to share this with other people. And they've just got engaged, like in Slack is one of them, but they've also helped people do transactions. That's contagious, to your point. They just want to share it. They want to give back. That's amazing. I mean, help enough people get what they want. You can have everything you want. But I guess, and in other words, you put it, care enough about other people and, support them and help them, right, achieve what they want to do. And they're going to go in and care about more other people to do the same thing, right? It's
100%.
that true, authentic, loving and giving back. Chris, this has been phenomenal. We're like 24 minutes in, and I didn't know where this conversation would go. And Chris started when we started like 25 minutes ago. I said, Chris, we're going to talk about, I don't know, let's talk about should investors be buying in real estate. But all of this leads to, if you're building your business, you're trying to buy real estate, A, you should have some core values. B, you should build in community. C, you should be hiring the who, not being the how, right? D, if you don't have a coach, guess what? Amazing coach right here, and Chris and his team, right, what they're building. Chris, anything else to add before we go into the lightning round?
Let me give them that link so don't forget. It's simply wickedsmartbooks.com/Brett. And they'll get, I'm talking hard copies, Brett, not like electronic and not like putting money for shipping. You'll get hard copy books at our expense. You won't put in 10 cents.
Okay, cool. Wicked Smart Real Estate book.
wickedsmartbooks.com/Brett.
There it is. Okay, awesome. Fantastic. Great. Well, let's move into the lightning round. Are you ready, Chris? Here we go. If you know what you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget and make sure to tell yourself to do?
There's people out there that have done what you want to do. Just go find them and stick with them for 5 or 7 years.
If there's one big domino in 2023 that you believe your company, if you can knock over that domino, will make the biggest impact for your students and for your partners, what would that be?
I just keep spreading the word and screaming from the rooftops that now is the time, and shut down the media crap that's going on and saying the opposite. Got it.
Yep. Stay laser focused. Number 3, what's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
You know what? This is going to be a totally different one for you. I just finished and then shared with a bunch of students Transcendental Meditation, the original little 5x7 book. I thought it was amazing and not a bad place to start with a mental piece.
Beautiful. Question number 4. What are you most curious about right now?
Always the market. If you ask me in 6 months, I'll say it again because that's what keeps me going. It's always going to be pivoting, and that's the one constant I love. Excellent.
Question number 5. How do you stay centered in your values today? Given, I know you're going to say focus, but I know turning it off on those things, right? But what's another thing that you're practicing every week to make sure that you're staying centered in your values and staying charged up to charge forward for new goals?
A revisiting of them, like revisiting, meaning in writing, in journal, meaning they're recorded in my iPhone. So on the way to the gym, it's a home gym. So walking down the stairs, I literally listen to the recording. So just staying immersed in them. And then same with the community. If I pivot to the community, staying immersed in them, talking about them, bringing them on meetings, recognizing people for the values and actions they take that are in sync, and so on and so forth.
I think you caught that too. Are you saying, are you recording your values? Like, hey, these are my values. These are things I believe in. These are things I'm trying to go for. Like, you're reading your goals and you're recording that, and then you're replaying that recording of you saying that is what you're saying?
Yeah. And future statements, I call them. So 12/31/23, talk as if it's 12/31/23. You're there and you're talking as if all that's already done.
Yeah. And I like that too, because I'm more of a visual speaking communicator, right? And I can write and do those things, but it takes a lot more energy versus if I can jump on a podcast or jump on a video, or I like that. So that is, your journaling it's basically a video journaling, right? A video journal or video goals, and you're probably still journaling written too, and then you're replaying that. I think that's a great idea, Chris.
It just get a different way to get it in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And creative and efficient. And you don't have to sit down and, you got kids, you got family, you got all this stuff going on. And if you could just be like, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to be listening to the future statements and the goals and the aspirations. I think that's a great nugget. Okay. Last question is favorite leadership quote or theme that you're striving to live by.
The leadership group we follow to this day, he sent me a plaque yesterday, the owner. And so it's fresh in my brain, but it's setting the vision, building the team to make that come true, but then never running out of resources, never running out of cash. Those are the 3 roles as a CEO or an owner, or in my case, the chairman now. Build the vision, build the team to support it, and never run out of resources, cash.
Amazing. Hey, Chris Prefontaine, if people want to get in touch with you, and what's the best place for them to find you? Would you mind one last time?
They can just go to smartrealestatecoach.com, like you said several times. Thank you. And then the free book, I want everybody to get it. It doesn't cost you anything and let you see inside what we're doing. And that's wickedsmartbook.com/Brett. With an S.com /Brett. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Chris Prefontaine, I want to thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, your inspiration with us, and so many golden nuggets today. I want to encourage you to keep using the gifts to give and help and care about people, build community, and helping get free from the W-2, right? And own some real estate and help and bless others along the way. That being said, everyone else, want to thank the rest of you for listening to an episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, also streamed on Expert CRE Secrets, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. And using a tax strategy to help you exit, or hiring a coach to help you level up your real estate game, is going to help you create and preserve more wealth. If we can help you at all, escape the 1031 exchange forever, defer capital gains tax on crypto, business, real estate, primary home, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Do look for the new book also coming out called Building a Tax Deferral Strategy. Tax Deferred Exit Strategy. It's my new book coming out with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank and a couple other wicked smart people. I appreciate everyone listening to the podcast. Please rate, review, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please share this with someone, and we will talk to you again.